A massive pair of violet-black wings suddenly burst open in midair, stirring up a raging storm. Mysterious markings spread across Lu Qingzu's flawless face while her regal tail feathers fluttered behind her like a royal cloak. From deep within her, a piercing Avon cry echoed in all directions. He grinned, finally showing your beast form. Now this is getting fun. Not to be outdone, he unleashed his full power, his body wrapped in glowing blue energy, each weapon radiating atomic force, turning him into a walking reactor of destruction. This was his fusion of the Godzilla battle template with hardened martial arts, a technique known as nuclear radiance mode. With a deafening blast, the ground beneath him exploded, launching Ahi like a missile straight toward Lu Qingzu. Let's make this a real fight. Lu Qingzu didn't flinch. Her wings snapped wide, drawing in the surrounding air currents. She summoned a funnel-shaped storm laced with ghostly energy that could devour all it touched. The entire arena was swallowed in a spiraling hurricane as it roared toward Ihi. He didn't flinch for a second. He launched himself like a torpedo straight into the ghostly hurricane. The instant he entered, a massive atomic detonation erupted in a burst of blue light, tearing through the storm. He surged forward with unstoppable momentum, heading right for Lu Qingzu. Her face changed. Those eerie patterns shifted to a deep crimson purple. She let out a piercing cry, unleashing her bloodline ability, Spectral Avon Howl. The sonic wave distorted the air itself, spreading like a shock wave across the entire arena. He was instantly engulfed by the blast. His atomic armor flickered violently, nearly extinguished by the deadly frequencies. If not for his high-tier Godzilla-based lineage, that spectral screech might have torn him apart from the inside. But hey, who can play that game? You think you're the only one who can scream? The vertebrae along his spine lit up one by one. Atomic powers surged through his body as he activated his ultimate move. Atomic breath, full output mode. Determination flashed in Lu Qingzu's eyes. She gave up all defense and poured every ounce of strength into offense. She refused to lose. This battle would have a winner. She unleashed her ultimate technique. Jade Core Strike fused with her bloodline's secret art, Spectral Bloodlance. A brilliant column of blue energy roared toward her like a divine judgment from the heavens. At the same time, she pointed her glowing jade fingertip forward, condensing the crimson-purple energy of destruction. With her wings beating furiously behind her, she slashed forward, cutting directly into the oncoming atomic beam. The two devastating forces collided midair, unleashing a cataclysmic explosion. Waves of raw energy surged across the arena, shaking the very sky. The host let out a panic scream. This isn't good. That kind of power, it's way beyond what two junior fighters can control. Outside the arena, the city mayor's expression darkened. He moved instantly. Either of these monstrous prodigies getting hurt would be a massive loss for the entire city. Even the whole Federation. Gantry, Earth Pulse Barrier. As he shouted, the ground rumbled violently. 3 massive stone walls infused with his battle aura erupted from the earth, slamming down between the colliding attacks. But just moments later, those thick stone barriers were obliterated. A blinding white flash swallowed the arena whole. The crowd erupted in chaos. That explosion was insane. Wasn't that the mayor's wall just now? Yeah. Mayor Ma tried to stop the clash. If he hadn't stepped in, we might have been caught in the blast too. The mayor stood at the edge of the smoke-choked arena, his face grim. He had reacted quickly, deploying 3 earth pulse walls to blunt the force of the impact, but he hadn't had enough time. The walls were still forming when they were torn apart, leaving nothing to stop the full brunt of the collision. Who could have predicted that this year's entrance trials would produce not 1, but 2 freakishly powerful candidates? If either of them was seriously injured, resignation wouldn't even begin to make up for it. Here in this land, a martial prodigy held sway over the hearts of the people more fiercely than any celebrity ever could. At the center of the arena, Lu Qingzu was once again gravely injured. Blood streamed down her arm. She dropped to one knee, her other arm badly scorched. Her once proud form now looked battered and broken. The power of her beast form had completely faded, but she refused to give up. She could still fight. That's when he stepped in front of her. He stood tall, completely unharmed, not a scratch on him. The contrast was brutal. Lu Qingzu was shaken, She knew her final blow had landed. Why did it seem like he hadn't felt a thing? He looked down at her and casually said, "If you don't get that nuclear radiation out of your system soon, you're done for." Lu Qingzu froze, then let out a choked sound on the verge of tears. The injustice was overwhelming. "I never wanted to fight you this hard. Why did you keep pushing me? This is bullying." He knelt down, looking her dead in the eyes. "Do you really hate fighting, or are you just too stubborn to admit you wanted to win? I could feel it in that last desperate attack. You were hungry for victory." Lu Qingzu couldn't argue. He was right. In that moment, she had wanted to win. That desire had made her drop her guard and go Alan. But what was happening to her? She'd always hated fighting. She wanted to lose quickly, didn't she? And yet, during that final clash, she felt something else. Something raw and exhilarating. That rush of fighting not for anyone else, but just for herself. He gently placed a hand on Lu Qingzu's shoulder. "You lost because your mind was too clouded during the fight." Then, without hesitation, he absorbed the lingering nuclear radiation from her body. Lu Qingzu looked down. The radiation and the wounds on her arm were rapidly healing. He looked her in the eye and said earnestly, "Even so, you're still the strongest opponent I've ever faced. If there's ever another chance, I'd love to fight you again. No distractions, just a pure battle." Lu Qingzu. Her cheeks flushed red at his words. Just then the smoke over the arena finally cleared. Every camera zoomed in on the center stage. The host shouted excitedly, "It's still standing. The first semi-final match is over. Ehi of First High takes the win." Shortly after, Chuho claimed victory in his match as well. The final showdown of the trials. The champions' duel was about to begin. The host's voice boomed. "The final battle is set. E of Anning First High versus Chu Zhao, also of Anning First High." The livestream viewership surged, nearing 500 million. The grand finale of the Anning tournament was underway as a referee gave the signal. Chuzhou stood ready, pressing his palms together. A chilling long sword slowly formed in his hands, forged from pure bloodline power. Cryoblade manifestation. He grinned. "Come at me." He may have just defeated the mighty Lu Qingzu, but he wasn't about to let his guard down now. After all, Chuha's battle intellect might just be the highest among all candidates this year. Chuha's eyes sharpened. He stepped forward, activating the 7-star movement. His body blurred into a series of after images, and in the blink of an eye, he closed the distance between them. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hundreds of icy blades flew at Ihe from every direction, cutting off all escape. But he was unfazed, tracking the real Chua. Nah. Smashing everything in sight sounded way more satisfying. He clenched his fist, muscles flexing like coiled steel, and eerie blue energy danced along his arm. Atomic detonation fist fully charged. With a single punch, the ground trembled. A shock wave of pure atomic force erupted outward, engulfing a 10-meter radius and searing nuclear energy. Chuho was forced to retreat, his mind reeling. This guy didn't even try to find a real body. He just blasted everything with overwhelming power. With Chuha's level of defense, there was no way he could take that hit head-on. Honestly, was there anyone their age who could trade punches with Ihe and walk away? Just look at what happened to Shanwan. But Chuho wasn't the type to back down if close combat wouldn't work. Then he'd wear Ihe down from afar. His bloodline surged. Frostworm awakening. Crystalline dragon scales bloomed across his body. His pupils turned into golden slits, and twin obsidian horns rose from his head. Behind him, a massive frostworm roared into form, its spectral wings stretching wide. His ice pulse erupted. Frozen winds howled across the arena, forming colossal ice spikes that surged into a towering tidal wave of frost, crashing toward Ihe. That's insane. He just summoned an entire mountain of ice out of nowhere. That frostworm bloodline is god tier. He looks amazing. Take down the evil overlord, Ihe. Go get him, Ice Brother. At that moment, he was completely encased in the heavy eyes forged by Chuho's bloodline. But Chuho didn't relax. He wasn't naive enough to believe the fight was over. His breathing grew heavier, unleashing that level of frostworm power had taken its toll. Suddenly, the crowd gasped. Look, the ice mountain. It's melting. In the next instant, a brilliant pillar of blue energy burst forth from deep within the ice, shooting straight toward Chua. Chujo, ever on guard, was still caught off guard by the sudden counterattack. Instinctively, he summoned an ice pillar from the ground to launch himself out of the beam's path. Boom! The atomic beam smashed into the examiner's joint energy shield, sending ripples of force across its surface. The towering ice mountain began to melt rapidly, collapsing in on itself under the searing heat. From within the dissolving glacier, a deep blue figure emerged. Streams of melted ice never even touched his body, evaporated instantly by the blazing heat radiating from him. He had returned fully awakened in his Godzilla state. Shujo exhaled slowly, a bitter edge in his eyes. The gap in their strength was simply overwhelming. He said firmly, take this, my final move. This is my absolute limit in martial arts. I was originally saving it for Lu Qingzhu. In the very next moment, a massive great sword of ice materialized in Chuha's hands, a sign that his bloodline power had fully awakened. The blade radiated a chilling aura, infused with a will that cut straight to the soul-cleaving sword intent. The first to react was the mayor of Anning, his expression just as stunned as when Lu Qingzhu had used a Xin Wang technique, sword intent. At his age, that's unreal. Without hesitation, Chua swung the sword with all his strength. Drip, drip. A few drops of hot blood splattered onto the ground. He had raised his arm just in time to block the strike, but a deep gash cleared down to the bone, ran across it. And yet the wound shimmered with blue light, the flesh already writhing and beginning to regenerate. Maybe if you had a better sword, you'd have stood a chance. Shujo opened his eyes wide, stunned. He looked down at his broken sword and knew he had lost. How much of a chance did I really have? He asked almost to himself. He smirked. A little better than the chances of Ace actually getting the girl. Chuho gave a helpless shrug and raised his hand to the referee. I surrender. Victory in the owning finals. He stands as the champion. Let's go, brother. I knew you were built different. Chuha was strong, but next no contest. The live stream chat exploded. He went from underdog to legend. This is the ultimate dark horse arc. At that moment, Ihai's face flooded every media outlet in the city. Word spread fast. Last year, he was dead last in his class. This year, he crushed the top-ranked student and claimed the championship. Talk about a comeback story. And this year's exam, far more intense than any before. To rise above it all, he might just be the strongest martial champion in Anning's history, maybe even ever. Outside the stadium, the crowd roared like a tidal wave. Across the city, and the millions watching via livestream. Everyone had witnessed the end of a grueling 3-day war. The champion of Anning's 24th martial entrance trials had finally emerged. He from first high. Rumor has it, you came from behind rising through the ranks late. Now that you've claimed the top spot, is there anything you'd like to say? Stepped forward, voice steady. First, I want to thank my teacher. When I was at my lowest, he didn't give up on me. His encouragement gave me the will to fight. Back in front of the live stream, EHI's homeroom teacher wiped away tears. He felt overwhelmed with guilt. How had he overlooked this monstrous talent until just before the exam? He didn't feel worthy of the praise. And next, I'd like to suddenly, in the front row of the audience, the school principal started waving wildly at Ihei. He held both hands in the air, flashing a big 2-0 gesture. 2 million, Ihei, promote our school a bit, and I'll give you 2 million in scholarship money. These eyes instantly lit up like dollar signs. I'd also like to thank my alma mater and our brilliant principal. Without his wise leadership, how could Anning First High have achieved such greatness? And finally, I want to thank myself, he said with complete sincerity. Without my hard work, relentless dedication, and unmatched intelligence, none of this would have been possible. He said it with a straight face. Absolutely no shame. Just then, the familiar system interface popped up. Frowny face, congratulations, host. You have earned the title Top Scholar Reward. 1 random template ability draw unlocked. Wait, Top Scholar is an actual title. He blinked, then grinned. So, the template has an achievement system too. That's a sweet surprise. Meanwhile, in the stadium hallway, a swarm of reporters had already cornered Ihei. Cameras and mics closing in from all sides. Was there a lot of pressure winning this year's championship? How did you manage such rapid growth in just 6 months? Will you be applying to Capital Star University? He raised his hands and surrendered, exasperated. Please stop chasing me. I really need to pee. But one sleazy-looking guy shoved a phone in his face, smirking. He quick questioned, between Lu Qingxu and Kai Shaoling, who's prettier? Or are you more to Xingwan? Or maybe Chuha? Nope, I'm out. Yi bolted like a rocket. He had no time for weird fanservice interviews. After finally shaking off the media mob, he ducked into the empty basketball court, finally catching his breath. His eyes lit up with excitement. So the template isn't a one-and-done deal. I can unlock more through the system. This is insane. I'm loving it. Just then, a calm voice sounded behind him. Congratulations on becoming the top scholar. He jolted in surprise, spinning around, thinking another reporter had found him. The man took off his hat and smiled. Relax. I'm not with the media. I'm from Capital Star. Let's talk about something a bit more classified, like the Ganlock. He froze. Ganlock. He hadn't unlocked any so-called Ganlock. All his powers came from monster templates. Could this guy know his secret? Who was he? From what little memory he had of the original host. That term had only ever come up once. From his supposedly ordinary father. The man pulled a file from his bag and said with a smirk, Tell me, aren't you curious? Your father, a regular taxi driver. How would someone like him even know about something like a Ganlock? He raised an eyebrow. Wait, could my old man actually be some kind of hidden expert? The man handed him the file. Due to your unique status, Capital Star has authorized the release of a restricted document. He opened it, and his eyes widened as he read, Project Prometheus. Once a dominant force in Blue Star's biological gene research. After a classified incident, the institute was blacklisted by multiple nations. Its key researchers went underground, erasing their identities. The gene lock was among their most ambitious experiments. He slowly closed the file, realization hitting him hard. So you guys think my regular cab driving dad was actually a senior researcher at Prometheus and me? I'm one of their secret experiments. Please don't worry, the man in the trench coat said gently. The government isn't here to threaten you, I'm just here to inform you. After all, as the subject involved, you have the right to know the truth. He clearly feared he might panic and do something reckless. You're now part of a national-level cultivation program. Your safety is our top priority from here on out. Stared at him. Deadpan, bro, I'm probably calmer than you right now, seriously. Then his face changed in an instant, switching to smug mode. Ugh, fame is such a pain. So much attention, so many questions. Society really is all about status, huh? The man blinked in silence, then turned and walked away without another word. As soon as he left, he rubbed his hands together, eyes sparkling. Finally, he's gone. This exam run was a jackpot. Top university offer, $2 million in scholarship money, another $800K bonus, and most importantly, new template draw. Here I come. He wasted no time summoning the system interface and hitting draw. Sure, he knew legendary tier templates like Godzilla were rare, but he couldn't help hoping for another miracle. A swirling black vortex appeared on the screen, filled with monstrous growls and echoing roars like a cursed vault full of ancient beasts. Stared in awe, slack-jawed. A moment later, the result appeared. D-Class Template. D-Class Template Colossus-type humanoid bloodline abilities size increase up to 60 meters. High-pressure steam emission. Evolutionary path. Protogene hybrid. Compatibility 1%. E's eyes gleamed brighter by the second. So template abilities can stack. If I combine the Colossus-type humanoid with the Berserker Emperor Mothra, wouldn't that make me the true king of monsters? Meanwhile, inside a quiet villa. Brother Holong, are you saying you're turning down all your missions? That's right. Cancel everything on my schedule. He hung up the call. The only sound left in the room was the faint audio from a TV broadcast. Wong took a deep breath. His index finger began tapping the redwood table rhythmically. Tap, tap, tap. A dent soon formed where his finger struck. His younger brother, Hua Pong, had been missing for over half a month. The search team sent in the Mystic Zone returned empty-handed. Not even a corpse. Ace, an experienced hunter of forbidden realms. Hong didn't need confirmation. His brother was dead. Worse, the scene had been cleaned. No trace, no mistake. Still, the rescue team didn't come back empty-handed. At the last known location, they recovered samples and testing revealed traces of nuclear radiation. Hulan's eyes stayed locked on the TV screen. It was replaying footage from the owning Marshall finals. The image froze. He unleashing a blinding blue beam of atomic breath. "Little brother," he murmured, "I told you to stay out of the underground to quit that life. Why didn't you listen before Mom passed? She made me promise I'd look after you. Now I can't even find your body." His eyes closed, weighed down with sorrow and guilt. Then the TV announcer declared, "Final winner." He of First High Kong opened his eyes, slowly bloodshot and deadly calm. He a rare genius, no doubt Capstar University will surely come calling. But too bad they won't get the chance to see you enroll. Today he was planning to head into a mystic zone to test his new theory, combining the Godzilla template with the Colossus-type template in actual combat. But just as he was getting ready, he received an unexpected letter from Chuho. The contents read, "According to the Capital Research Institute, a new mystic rift is projected to open today at 3 p.m. in Red Tree Mountain, on the outskirts of Anning. The estimated danger level is class that I intend to investigate. Would you like to team up?" Chuha's first reaction wasn't about the mystic zone. No, he was shocked. Chuzhou still sent handwritten letters in 2024, paired with his swordsman cosplay and archaic way of speaking. He was starting to seriously wonder, is this guy another transmigrator too? By 3 p.m., the once deserted Red Tree Mountain had become packed. Over 1,000 fighters arrived, among them elite warriors and high-tier organizations. At the base of the mountain he met up with Chu Zhao, who now had a sword hanging from his waist. Eve grown stronger. Eve was surprised at how sharp Chuho's senses were. After all, he had used some of his prize money to buy several gene serums, pushing his Colossus template compatibility to 35%. Sure, it was just a D-class monster, but it grew fast and worked fast. Definitely worth it. While waiting for the rift to open, the two chatted casually. "So Chuha, what university are you aiming for?" "Capital Star University." There was something off in Chuho's tone when he said it. He noticed but didn't cry. He simply smiled and replied, "Guess that makes us future classmates." Just then, the crowd around them erupted. The mystic rift is opening. A piercing screech echoed from the rift. The next second, a monstrous bird with 3 twisted heads and pitch-black feathers forced its way halfway out of the portal. This was clearly a high-tier beast. It had muscled its way to the front and become the first creature to emerge from the rift. But unfortunately for it, what waited outside wasn't prey. It was over 1,000 armed warriors, locked and loaded. Kill. The mountains roared with the sound of unified battle cries. No one hesitated. The fighters surged toward the monster like a tidal wave, not caring one bit that it was still awkwardly stuck in the portal. The 3-headed bird thrashed in panic, each head flailing as it tried to retreat, but it was stuck. Within seconds, its massive body was trampled and crushed beneath a stampede of blades, boots, and battle cries. As they say, the early bird gets the beatdown. Aihe and Chuho, blending into the crowd, passed through the rift right behind the wave of warriors. On the other side, they were greeted by a jaw-dropping sight. A forest of colossal trees, each over 100 meters tall, towering like skyscrapers piercing the sky. Suddenly, a thick metallic stench of blood flooded A's nostrils. He looked ahead. The entrance of the rift had already become a battlefield with a mini beast-tide crashing into the arriving warriors. Screams, roars, and the clash of steel filled the air, merging into a brutal, chaotic symphony of war. He quickly realized the warriors weren't just here to loot the Mystic Zone. They were holding the front line for a reason. According to the Bluest Star Defense Act, all licensed martial artists have both the freedom to explore mystic zones and the duty to protect the real world from beast tides. Anyone who ignores that duty and lets a tide slip into the outside world, causing civilian casualties, will be stripped of their warrior status and tried in military court. For a warrior, the greater the power, the heavier the responsibility. Aihe and Chu Zhao joined the front line, pushing back against the oncoming beast tide. Chuho activated his bloodline, unleashing waves of icy energy that froze the beast's legs in place, locking down the path ahead. Suddenly, a beast lunged at him from behind. In a split second, he launched his atomic detonation fist, blowing the ambusher into mist and melted flesh. "Watch your back," he said, completely unfazed. Then almost lazily he added, "These Mystic Zone beasts, not a single one can put up a decent fight." Behind him lay a field of smoldering corpses. Shuha was stunned. He'd been carefully holding the line, and he had already wiped out an entire section of monsters. The creatures he killed weren't just burned, they were dissolved, as if every cell in their body had been disintegrated from within. That was the terror of atomic radiation. Silent, invisible, and absolutely devastating. And now, for the first time in the open battlefield, Ihe, the walking nuclear disaster zone, could unleash his power freely. Rower, scree beasts howled as they charged at him, only to melt into puddles of gore a few meters away, cooked alive by the sheer heat radiating from his body. On another part of the battlefield, warriors locked in desperate melee turned their heads only to see that the warriors behind them were already relaxing and wiping sweat. Yo, what the hell? They done already. Did they bring in some high-tier MC? Nope, that's the top score from Anning's entrance exams. The what? Wasn't he just a trainee? How's a kid soloing entire waves of monsters? You didn't watch this year's entrance exam broadcast. Nah. Who wants to watch high schoolers fight? Idiot, that high schooler could mop the floor with 10 of you. As the battle dragged on, exhaustion began to show on the warriors' faces. Then someone shouted, "Drive the beast toward the top scorer." And just like that, the battlefield adapted. Everyone instinctively pivoted, using Ehe's nuclear radiation field as a natural kill zone against the monster tide. No one knew how long the fighting had lasted, but then boom, a signal flare burst in the sky. Eyes that had gone dull with fatigue suddenly lit up. Decapitation confirmed. The alpha beast is down. We did it. The tide is breaking. Monsters are retreating. Don't let up. Finish them off. Chuho finally exhaled, relief washing over him. The first wave of Red Tree Mountain's beast tide was over to the 1,000+ warriors who had entered. Only about 800 remained. E strolled over casually, lugging several massive sacks behind him. His chill attitude stood out like a sore thumb amid the blood-soaked survivors. Hey Chu, real talk. I'm running out of hands here. How am I supposed to carry all this loot? With a thud, he dropped several bulging sacks of monster cores in front of him. Shujo silently handed over a silver-black ring. My spatial ring. Use it. Whoa, nice. A space ring. Those go for tens of millions on the market. He eagerly stuffed the bags inside. I knew you were secretly loaded. Wounds back. Thank the heavens. If he hadn't taken out the elite beast, we have all died out there. The crowd parted automatically, as a tall, broad-shouldered man strode forward. Righteous energy radiating from him like a wall. He quickly realized this guy was heading straight for him. Hello there, Anning's top scholar, the man said with a warm smile. Name's Wu Sun, regional commander of the Silver Wolf Mercenary Corps. I've heard what you did out there today. Outstanding work. Now tell me, would you be interested in joining our corps? It won't interfere with your university plans. In fact, you'll receive tons of benefits, gear access, and support. For someone like you, I'm ready to offer an S-rank member contract on the spot. Wu's offer immediately drew gasp from the surrounding warriors. The Silver Wolf Corps, a nationally renowned mercenary group, and their regional commander personally recruiting Ihe. That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Becoming a warrior was an expensive path. Without faction support, few could go far. In an SRN contract, even elite students from Capital Star University rarely received such treatment. Just then, a dazzling striped tiger stepped out from the crowd. On its backside, a striking woman with a bold, commanding presence. So that's why you rushed ahead. Woo, son, she teased, trying to steal the prize before the rest of us showed up. She turned to Ahai. How about joining the Chengda Corps instead? We may be smaller than Silver Wolf, but if you join us, I'll personally guarantee you'll receive 15% of our monthly cultivation resources. No strings attached. Gasp. That was an offer. That was basically giving him a stake in the guild. A high schooler, and they were throwing elite tier contracts at him. He, however, simply smiled and shook his head. Thanks, but for now, I'm not planning to join any corps. The woman chuckled unfazed. Just as I thought. Landing the top scorer was never going to be easy. No worries, consider this our introduction. If you ever need anything, the Silver Wolf Corps is only a call away. The Shundong Corps too, she added with a wink. We'll be ready. With the beast tide finally over, the warriors entered the free exploration phase. Chuho offered a suggestion. This is a giant forest. The layout's tricky. Let's climb to the canopy and scout the terrain first before heading deeper. He nodded. That was his plan too. He activated his nuclear radiance mode, atomic energy gathering beneath his feet, then blasted upward like a human rocket, shooting straight toward the treetops. Before long, the two stood atop a colossal tree, hundreds of meters tall, overlooking the entire mystic zone. Wait, what is that? He suddenly narrowed his eyes, stunned, and far off, near the foot of a distant mountain range. A group of gigantic humanoid figures was moving slowly. Even from hundreds of kilometers away, their silhouettes were unmistakable. Those things have to be what? A kilometer tall, he murmured. That's beyond insane. Chuho was about to respond. But Ihei spoke first, voice steady, and filled with fire. Unimaginable? Nah, we're still young. Give it a few more years and we might be the ones hunting them. Maybe even uncovering the truth behind this whole mystic zone thing. Shuha turned slightly aruck. When faced with such overwhelming unknowns, his instinct was fear. But Ihei, his instinct was to conquer. In that moment, Chuha understood. I wasn't just stronger in power, he had the spirit of a true warrior. Meanwhile, Ihei himself was practically buzzing with excitement. Just you wait, you walking mountains. One day, all your monster cores will be mine. Suddenly, his life field sensor kicked in, giving him a full read of all living entities across the mystic zone. Point one spot stood out. To the southeast, a massive lake region, a complete blank. No life signs, nothing. It was like a dead zone. A void. Now that's suspicious, he muttered, his eyes gleaming. The stranger the waters, the bigger the fish. That's where the real loot is. Without hesitation, he turned to Chuha. Let's go. Time to gamble big at the lake. Ihei and Chuha quickly made their way through the giant forest and arrived at the edge of the mysterious lake. To their surprise, 3 people were already there, one of whom was someone Ei recognized. Rainy, he called out, pleasantly surprised. Well, if it isn't Anqing's little champion, Huang Yuli replied with a teasing smile. Wait, you know our local top scorer? One of her teammates chimed in, grinning. Come on, introduce us already. We heard he was tearing through beast tides like a walking warhead. Rainy, how long have you guys been here? He asked. Not long, we just arrived. 2 of our teammates, good swimmers, went underwater to scout things out. Right as she finished speaking, a figure burst from the water surface. It was one of Rainy's teammates. Jackpot. Guys, we just hit the mother lode. Yang shouted, clearly thrilled. Whoa, slow down. What kind of jackpot? There's a ruin down there, a real one. We're going to make it big. He nudged Chuha with his elbow. Why is everyone so hyped over ruins? Chuha explained. In mystic zones, there are these ancient structures believed to be remnants of a lost civilization. People call them ruins. They say modern martial arts theories and even parts of Jin were reverse engineered from discoveries made inside these places. Just then, Yang finally noticed the 2 newcomers standing nearby. Wait a second. Who are you 2? Were you eavesdropping on us? The tension spiked, until Hong Yui stepped in quickly. Yu Yang, calm down. These 2 are Ihei and Chuho, top scorer and runner-up from Anning's martial entrance exam. Their strength is far above average. We should let them join us. He casually clapped a hand on Chujo's shoulder. Relax, man. We're not here to steal your loot. We're here to help you get it. Yang narrowed his eyes. Fine, then how do we split the gains? We're not part of your team, so we'll take a cut based on contribution. We earn it, we keep it, he replied smoothly. Yu Yang was clearly annoyed, but he knew better than to pick a fight with 2 rising stars. He scoffed. All right, you're in, but don't try anything shady, got it? With that settled, Yu Yang led the way, diving into the lake. The others followed one after another. Thanks to their enhanced physical strength and lung capacity, All 6 warriors dove roughly 30 meters deep. There, Yang located a marker he'd left earlier and led the group into a submerged cave tunnel. That passage leads to the ruin, he said. Once they surfaced inside the cave, Yu Yong immediately looked around. Huh? Where's Liwei? I told him to stand guard right here. Maybe he found something and decided to keep it for himself, one of the teammates muttered, clearly irritated. Yang pulled out his radio and tried calling Liwei multiple times, but got no response. When you first got here, did either of you check for signs of monster activity? Huang Yuli asked calmly. Nope. Liwei and I even deployed beast lore charges. Nothing showed up. Not even a single strand of fur. Liwei's missing. Are we really sure we should keep going? One teammate asked hesitantly. After a brief silence, Yu Yong gritted his teeth and barked out. We have to explore it. Riches and glory are right in front of you. If you're too scared to reach for them, you'll be stuck at the bottom forever. Anyone afraid of dying can leave now, but if you want to get rich, follow me. No one moved. Even the teammate who had just expressed doubt stayed silent that Wu Yang was right. If there was really a ruin ahead, no one was willing to watch someone else walk off with a treasure. All right then, he said, let's move. With a heavy silence hanging in the air, Yu Yong led the way, and the group stayed on high alert. Every step deeper into the unknown, he switched on a UV flashlight, illuminating the path ahead on the ground, glowing faintly with the symbols he and Liwei had marked earlier. The team pushed forward. The tunnel narrowed and narrowed until only one person could pass at a time. Aihe, walking in a cramped space, narrowed his eyes slightly. He glanced back at Chua. Their eyes met, and they communicated in silent lip sync. Something's off, Chua. Yeah, the timing doesn't add up. Rainey said they got to the lake only 10 minutes ago. Yet, these two managed to find this cave, swim through the lake, discover a hidden tunnel, and navigate all the way to a ruined entrance. That's not scouting, that's straight up wall hack, Chuho whispered under his breath. Pretty clear we're being played. Wanna warn your friend, and get out of here. But Ihei smirked, eyes gleaming. Relax that I've got a trump card. Soon the group arrived in a massive underground cavern, easily the size of a football field. Dark green vines covered every inch of the floor, walls, and ceiling. But what made their blood run cold were the things entangled in the vines, dim, lifeless monster cores and piles of ash where creatures have been reduced to dust. And no wonder the lake had been so eerily quiet. Something down here had already devoured every other predator. Huang Yuli's expression darkened instantly. Her voice was cold. Yu Yang, where's the ruin you promised? One of her teammates let out a piercing scream, pointing to the far side of the cavern. There, a mummified corpse suspended in the air, pierced clean through by thick vines. Judging by the clothing, it was Liwei. Wang Yuli and another woman stumbled back, pale and horrified. Yu Yang, meanwhile, collapsed to his knees, clutching his head and muttering hysterically, "The ruin, where is it? It was supposed to be here. Liwei's dead. How'd he die?" The vines. The vines. Suddenly, clarity flickered in his eyes. His voice broke into a desperate shout. I think the vines got to me too. Run. Splat. His head exploded like a firecracker, sending blood and bone flying from the shredded remains. Several vines slithered out, twisting like demonic tentacles. You hang, Yuli screamed, her voice cracking with disbelief and horror. In that instant, Ihei acted, unleashing a devastating atomic breath straight at the threat. Boom! A blinding blue energy beam exploded forward, incinerating the upper half of Yu Yang's body, along with the writhing vines that had infested him. Yi's eyes were cold, his tone even colder. I didn't expect a monster with this level of intelligence. It killed 2 fighters, took over one of their minds, then used his body as bait to lure in more victims. That's not hunting. That's strategic ambush, which means we're already deep inside its feeding ground. Crack, crash. Behind them, massive stones and thick vines suddenly collapsed across the only exit, sealing them in completely. Shujo's gaze locked on the moving vines. I've read about this species. It's a tier 2 royal class monster, a ghost vine demon. Huang Yuli's breath hitched. Royal class. Those things aren't measured by normal tiers. We're all tier 1 at best. We can't handle that kind of power. He just cracked a wide grin, his white teeth flashing. Don't care what tear it is. Watch me blow it to pieces. Just as he was about to activate his Titan form, boom. The collapsed tunnel behind them erupted open from the other side. A figure emerged, cloaked in black, body shrouded in raging blood energy that twisted the very air. A trail of crimson smoke billowed behind him like a battlefield banner. I've come to kill you. Someone in the group gasped. That's blood cheese smoke. He's a stage 8 martial artist. He glanced back calmly. Didn't expect someone would still be tailing me. Hong frowned. Word. Had someone used radiation to hold back a beast tide in the Red Tree Mountains that I knew it had to be you. I just followed the residual radiation. It led me straight here. To stay hidden. I held my breath, slowed my heartbeat, even feigned death in the underground caverns. But you still noticed and even blocked the path with boulders. And oh wonder you're the one who nearly wiped out my entire clan. He looked genuinely confused. Who even are you, old man? You just barged in and started ranting. Do we even know each other? Cut the act. Holong roared like thunder and launched himself at A with explosive force. But his expression changed mid-charge. This wasn't some ancient ruin. It was a monster's den. No, this was the lair of a devil vine. He'd been lured here on purpose. Was this all eavesdrop? Damn it. This was your plan all along. H-Long cursed. That devil vine drains energy and releases neurotoxin. If this drags on, I'm as good as dead. You sneaky bastard. The devil vine unleashed wave after wave of lashing tendrils trying to tear Long apart, but his fists hammered through them like cannonballs, blasting every vine to pieces. Ihei, watching from the side, commented, Man, you sure talk a lot for someone we've just met. Shut up. H-Long roared. I came here to kill that bastard E, not get tangled up with a bunch of weeds. Suddenly, Huang Yuli cried out. This whole cave is going to collapse from your fighting. Move aside, E shouted. His body was suddenly coated in a rough deep blue skin like armor. Glowing cracks spread across his skin, pulsing with radiant blue energy. As he opened his mouth, the vertebrae along his back lit up one by one like a power circuit. Then he unleashed his full-power atomic breath. The blazing blue beam punched through the cavern ceiling, pierced the underground lake above and shot straight into the sky. Water came flooding through the gaping hole, pouring into the cave. And just like that, an escape path was revealed. Julie, you guys go first, he shouted. You're not going anywhere, Long bellowed. His energy erupted, vaporizing all the nearby devil vine tendrils. Then he stomped the ground, launching himself like a missile straight at Ihei. Chuho drew his sword the moment danger struck. His bloodline power surged, and his soul-piercing sword aura froze everything in its path under a thick layer of frost, when his icy slash clashed with a fiery punch. Steam exploded everywhere, blanketing the cavern and mist. As long as I'm here, you won't lay a finger on Ihei. TCH. Bold words, kid, H-Long sneered. I'm an 8th level martial breaker. You think a little frost is going to stop me? But before he could finish bragging, he had already closed the distance and fired off an atomic blast fist at point-blank range. A blinding surge of blue light lit up the entire underground cavern, caught completely off guard. Hong was sent flying, crashing into the stone wall with a thunderous boom. Get out of here. That guy's too strong for you right now. Leave him to me. Hearing Ai's firm voice, Chuho realized staying would only be a burden. He turned and retreated without hesitation. Moments after Chua left, the cavern began to collapse. Massive rocks crashed down, revealing thick, writhing devil vine roots. Yet facing both Hulong and the encroaching monster, he didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his hand and bit down hard on his own flesh. On the surface, Huang Yuli and the others stood by the lakeside, watching as the water roiled violently. The rumble of collapsing rock echoed from deep below. When Chuho finally emerged from the lake, Huang Yuli let out a breath of relief, only to realize he hadn't followed him up. Just as Huang Yuli was about to speak, a deafening boom ripped through the lake. A brilliant blue bolt of lightning shot skyward, lighting up the entire lake. When a titan transforms, the process releases an immense burst of energy, often taking the form of thunderous lightning, especially in the case of a colossal titan, whose transformation produces the most devastating energy output due to its massive size. It's so destructive, it's often compared to a humanoid nuke, capable of leveling an entire military harbor upon transforming. And this time, the one transforming was none other than Ihai, the atomic-powered human Godzilla. What erupted from him wasn't just light, it was a full-blown nuclear event. Holong was instantly incinerated by the blast, charred before he even had time to react. Torrents of lake water shot upward, flooding the air. Clouds of steam billowed as if the entire lake had begun to boil. Through the haze, the group vaguely saw a massive shadow flash by, but it vanished just as quickly, leaving them unsure if it was real or just their imagination. As they stood on alert, Ihi crawled out of the water and shouted, "Chuho, toss me some clothes." After changing, Chuho asked curiously, "What the hell was that explosion?" He casually made something up. "That mystery fighter? He blew himself up with a plasma bomb. Took the devil vine with him." Shujo scratched his head. "But I swear I saw some kind of giant in the fog." "Nope. Just the explosion messing with your eyes," he interrupted quickly. After successfully brushing them off, he let out a quiet sigh of relief. If they ever found out he had a monster transformation template, things would get complicated fast. He did go a little overboard. The guy got vaporized. Not even a corpse left to loot. Hikari Lee managed to secure the Devil Vine's core. After barely surviving their ordeal, Huang Yuli and the others were utterly drained and ready to leave the secret realm. "Ihi, we'll head out first," Huang Yuli said apologetically. "Sorry for dragging you into this mess. Not only was it a wasted trip for you, but you even had to save us. We'll make it up to you once you're out." Yi grinned. "Come on, Julie. Don't be so formal that let's just call it payback for the time you helped me. If you try to repay me again, I'll just end up owing you all over." Huang. Uli chuckled and dropped the subject. She waved goodbye and left with her team. Ehi and Chuho then continued exploring the secret realm. Thanks to Ihai's powerful life field sensing ability, they racked up quite a haul. By the third day, feeling they'd gathered enough, they decided it was time to leave. Returning to the real world, they looked up and were stunned to see planes flying overhead. It's only been a few days, and this place has already been turned into a town with cargo planes. Man, the infrastructure speed in this country is just insane. E headed to the Relic Appraisal Center to have his loot evaluated and to pay the 10% tax. "Sir, please be careful," the staff reminded him. "If these items are damaged, it'll be your loss too." He scratched his head. "Sorry, I brought too much stuff that if I don't start unloading fast, you guys won't be done by noon." "No worries, sir. We're professionals," the staff assured him with a smile. With a sigh, Ihi took off his spatial ring. Then he began pulling out bags one after another after another. As the staff watched Ihi pull out the final bag, she couldn't help but mutter inwardly, "Bag after bag. Is this a relic appraisal or a warehouse delivery?" she asked nervously. "Yes, sir. Is that all of it?" He grinned smugly. "All done, but you better start calculating fast. We've still got a whole pile of spirit herbs coming." After wrapping up the monster core appraisal, Ihai moved over to the herb assessment counter. At this point, green and white-gray monster cores no longer benefited him, so he sold them off for cash. The real treasures were the 5 blue tier cores from tier 3 monsters he collected during the Beast Tide, and the green core laced with golden veins dropped by the tier 2 royal class Devil Vine, his most valuable prize. After selling everything, his bank account balance shot past 20 million in Saya currency. Yet even staring at the endless string of zeros, he didn't feel much joy. Honestly, all that money still wasn't as satisfying as boosting his compatibility rate by just 10%. After all, in this world, raw power was the one true truth. Now, the question was, how could he spend this money for the biggest upgrade? The gene serums available on the market were no different from low-tier monster cores, useless for enhancing either of his current templates. He let out a sigh. Even my templates are picky now. Seriously, they become more high maintenance than I am. He wanted higher grade serums, of course, but those were all under strict purchasing limits. And with his current clearance level, he didn't even qualify to join the queue. Still, there was another route to power: martial arts. During the college entrance exam, he had outperformed geniuses like Lu Qinggu, thanks entirely to the absurd stats from his Godzilla template. But in terms of actual technique, he couldn't even compete with the martial arts nerds. Time to change that with some overpowered martial skills. And if anyone in his circle had the connections to get Heil techniques, it was the principal of number 1 High Dot. He chuckled to himself. Time to pay a visit to the wise old man and drain his golden loot. Not long after, he barged into the principal's office. The principal calmly poured him a cup of tea. With years of experience and a sixth sense for student scheming, the old man instantly saw through him. This kid clearly wanted something. He casually pulled out a bottle of pricey liquor. Inside floated a rare ginseng herb. Rumor had it no middle-aged man could resist this miracle brew that supposedly boosted vitality, stamina, and other things. After a few polite words, I cut straight to the point. Principal, I'm looking to learn some powerful martial techniques that I haven't entered university yet. So my only option is to reach out to martial families that Oh, you have any connections? The principal frowned. You've already been admitted to Huadu University. It's practically guaranteed. Why rush? You can learn all that stuff once you're enrolled. But I'm really hungry for growth, sir. Fine. Since you're so eager, I'll make an exception and help out that you're a special case talent after all. And education should be tailored, not cookie cutter. Exactly. Principal. Rules are dead. People are alive. With flexible educators like you, the academic world still has hope. The next day around noon, E's phone rang. It's done. You can head over now. Really? That's amazing. Thank you. Which martial family is it? The Liu family in Eros. The Liu family. And they're willing to pass down their secret arts. This was going to be interesting. Meanwhile, on the streets of Anning, a sleek black motorcycle worth over 2 million roared down the road. Riding it was Liu Chinga, the Liu family's young heir. He leaned low over the handlebars as the engine screamed like a beast, echoing through the city. Behind him, a blonde beauty clung to his waist, her hair whipping in the wind. Gee, you're so wild. Puffed up by the praise, Luchin just smirked and was just about to brag when suddenly a bright yellow rental bike pulled up next to him. Yo bro, eyes on the road, point one wrong move at that speed and it steers of your loved one's time. Liu Chunya felt utterly humiliated as a self-proclaimed motorcycle god. What the hell? Are you nuts? You nearly gave me a heart attack riding a junky rental bike and trying to race Seam. He growled, twisted the throttle hard, and his steel beast roared to life, blasting forward and leaving he in the dust. You keeping up with me? Dream on, pal. Watching that tiny yellow bike shrink in his rear view mirror, Liu Qing felt euphoric. Nothing like putting some wannabe in his place. But then a strange thunderous sound rolled up behind him, louder than his own engine. He glanced back. What the hell? That blue streak was Ihi. The guy had activated his nuclear leg mode. Blue rocket flames blasting from his calves like a damn space shuttle. He was flying on the A. bike. Later, bro. He flashed a smile as he zipped past, and then straight up launched into the sky, vanishing into the clouds like a human missile. Liu Qingjia and his blonde passenger were left frozen in disbelief. Wait, bikes can fly now. That speed wasn't that basically a jet. Half an hour later, Ihai arrived at the Liu family estate. Calm, composed, and looking like nothing had happened. No doubt about it. This was a proper martial arts family. Even their residence looked like a miniature castle. At the same time, E's life field sensing picked up several powerful presences hidden within the estate. Yep, definitely not a place to mess around. Just then, a figure in a flowing white dress appeared at the gates. It was Liu Qingshu. She looked slightly nervous as she greeted him. You've arrived and a mother asked me to escort you. Let's go meet her now. He simply nodded and followed silently behind her into the estate. Their feet stepped onto a plush high-end carpet as they entered an elegantly decorated and spacious hall. Mother, he is here. Qingzhu called softly. Almost immediately, the sharp click of high heels echoed across the room. A poised, graceful woman with a mature aura descended the stairs slowly. He looked up and was momentarily stunned. Liu Qinggu's mother was breathtaking. Time had not dulled her beauty, it had refined it. Like vintage wine, her presence only grew more alluring and elegant with age. Watching the scene unfold, he held his breath and screamed internally, Prime Minister, I understand now. A few days earlier, after the college entrance exam, Lu Qinggu had returned home, fully expecting her strict mother to scold her harshly. She had braced herself for punishment, but to her surprise, her mother simply invited her into the study for tea, a rare and quiet moment. Qingzu, relax that I watched the live stream of your battle with that boy. You did well. High strength would be impressive even in Hadu's elite exams. There's no need to beat yourself up. In this generation, you're the only one truly capable of carrying the Lu family's future. Your brother lacks the talent. He could never shoulder the legacy. But you're still a girl, and far too beautiful at that. Qinlin reached out and gently pinched her daughter's cheek, her expression a blend of tenderness and concern. Your father passed too early, and without any strong relatives to back us. The Lu family has been forced to retreat to this tiny corner of Anning. If a major clan proposes a political marriage, we don't have the strength to refuse. That would mean the Lu family, our 100-year legacy, might be swallowed whole. He is exceptional, gifted, humble, with a clean background and limitless future. And from what I've seen, he's no power-hungry schemer that I'd like to see you with him. What do you think? Qinlan looked Lu Qinggu straight in the eye, her tone gentle but firm. You don't have to answer me now. Spend some time with EI first. Qinlan stepped down the stairs and said, Welcome to the Lu family, E. E barely resisted the urge to strike a dramatic pose and declare himself chosen by fate. Instead, he bowed respectfully. Hello, Auntie. Just a small gift for you. Qinlan didn't even glance at the gift. Instead, she smiled and said, I heard from your principal that you're interested in advanced martial techniques. Qingzu will take you. He was stunned. He hadn't expected her to be so straightforward. No tests, no hoops, just pure generosity. Qingshu will guide you to the Lu family's martial vault. But keep in mind, no techniques can be taken out. It's 1 day of study, and that's it. In the deepest part of the vault, there are 3 Xinhuang class martial arts. Whether you can learn them depends on your own ability. Upon hearing that even Xinhuang level skills were on the table, he inhaled sharply. Understood. Then allow me to thank the Lu family for this incredible opportunity. And he specifically thanked the Lu family, not Xinlan personally. That one-word choice carried weight. It implied a formal acknowledgement of favor, a future promise. If the Lu family ever needed him, he'd be there. Xinlan was very pleased by the nuance. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. He, however, was starting to feel weirded out by the oddly intense way she was staring at him. Soon, Lu Qingzhu began leading him to the martial vault, as they walked together in silence. He couldn't help but notice. Was it just him, or was Qingshu acting way more shy than before? Qingzhu, why do I feel like you've been avoiding my eyes this whole time? He suddenly stepped forward, locking eyes with her startled gaze. It was like staring into the eyes of a frightened deer. Lu Qingzhu had never been this close to a boy before. She could feel his warm breath brushing her cheek, sending a strange tingle down her spine. Flustered, she backed up half a step. And no, I wasn't. Why are you getting so close all of a sudden? Still bickering, the two continued on until they arrived at a hidden underground stone chamber. He reached out and ran his hand along the rough solid surface of the wall. It was obvious this stone wasn't ordinary. Qingzhu spoke up. This is force dampening stone and it was excavated from secret realm. Even a warlord class blow wouldn't crack it. E's eyes lit up. Can I punch it once? She blinked in surprise. That was not the reaction she expected. Most people would be in awe, not eager to smack it. Go ahead. E clenched his fist, every cell in his body surging with atomic energy. Blue light surged across his knuckles. His punch sliced through the air and slammed in the wall with full force. A shockwave erupted, sending Qinggu's white dress fluttering, but instead an explosion. The blue energy was absorbed directly into the wall. It rippled outward like water on a calm lake, dispersing in waves. Not even a scratch left behind. He could feel it clearly. His normally unstoppable all-out punch had been swallowed like a stone dropped into the sea. Over 90% of its power simply vanished into the wall. Come on, I'll take you to pick a martial art. Lu Qingzhu, seeing him finally take a loss, couldn't help but smirk. She walked ahead, her steps noticeably lighter. The skills here sorted by category: movement techniques, defensive forms, body cultivation, swordsmanship, that sort of thing. As she spoke, she handed Ehai a sleek black and gold ID card. Just swipe this to access whatever you want. The Shine Wand class techniques are in a private chamber at the very back, also car protected. But listen, you won't master one in a day. That team most you'll scratch the surface. Honestly, she added, I don't know if my mother did you a favor or set you up that I could help you pick a few high-tier skills that aren't teaching Wanga level, but they'd be way easier for you to learn and actually suited to your style. He grinned. Look at you worried about me. Then he turned serious. If I don't even dare to face the strongest option when it's right in front of me, I might as well quit now and go home. Seeing how determined he was, Qing Shu said nothing more. She stepped forward and opened the thick black stone door to the vault. Inside were 3 secure cases, each labeled with a name. 2 of them read Ephemeral Shadows to Pan Primordial Jade Fingers, the very techniques Qingzu had shown before. The third one, though, was unfamiliar. Fleshbound Demon Prison. You can't just read Jin Wang techniques like a book, Qingzu explained. They're encoded with something called martial resonance, a kind of spiritual rhythm left behind by the original creator. If you can't feel it, or if your own nature clashes with it, you won't even be able to start training. Put simply, these techniques are alive. You don't choose them, they choose you. He nodded, then confidently pointed at the one with the most brutal-sounding name. Fleshbound Demon Prison. I was born for this technique, he declared, full of swagger. Lu Qingzhu opened the case. Inside wasn't a scroll or a book, but a fearsome bronze statue. The statue was a hulking figure with rippling muscles, and in the grooves of its body, twisted ghostly faces screamed silently as if 100 evil spirits had been forcibly sealed within. The aura was downright chilling. As the statue was revealed, he blinked in shock. Wait, teases the martial technique. And then he really started hearing ghostly wails echoing in his ears. Shin'uan techniques aren't always written, Qingzu explained. They can take the form of statues, paintings, relics, anything capable of holding martial resonance. That's what makes Grand Masters so mysterious. Only Grand Masters can distill that essence, what we call martial resonance, and seal it into an object for future generations to inherit. With her explanation finished, Qingzu turned to leave. From here on, it's up to you. Wait, hold on. What do you mean up to me? You didn't even tell Ma learn it. Just feel it that if a resonance chooses you, it'll come to you. He stared at her, utterly baffled. That is, if she trolling me right now. Ugh, whatever. Thinking too hard gives me a headache. He yawned, dropped flat onto the floor and muttered, if it's all about fate, I'll let fate find me in my sleep. And just like that, out cold. Watching from the surveillance room, Lu Qinggu let out a sigh and face-bombed. Honestly, this is so you. He tried channeling his power, but nothing that ochi. Not even a flicker of atomic energy from his Damonra template that it was like being reduced to a powerless civilian. Thankfully, the monster interface still worked. Frowny face warning. Host consciousness detected inside unknown domain, engaging mental body reinforcement to prevent death. But it wasn't just the system that a rough, savage voice suddenly thundered in his ears on the remaining arm of the wrath-faced guardian statue. A massive brute now stood, built like a battle-hardened grizzly. The man had eyes like a hungry wolf, and stared he down. My martial legacy ain't for weaklings. Only real iron-blooded men can carry it forward. If you're not one of them, I'd rather let it rot in the ground. Prove you've got the guts, kid. He looked identical to the statue outside. Every scar, every snarl. Exact. When the storm hits and a night parade of 100 ghosts begins, you're guarding this dump. Let a single demon defile this altar and you fail. You win. I'll teach you a trick or two that you lose. The white ghost will eat your soul, and you'll go mad. Martial path over. So if you're just a soft little punk, run drip. That a cold raindrop leaked through the broken ceiling and landed right on Ihai's face. When Ihai snapped out of it, the savage brood on the statue's arm had vanished. The trial had officially begun. Behind a wrath-faced guardian's throne, he found a rusted, battered longsword. Alone, sword in hand, he stood at the temple's shattered gates. The rain intensified, thunder cracked through the sky, and a blinding white bolt lit up A's face as if marking the signal. The night parade of 100 ghosts had begun. Countless shadowy figures shrieked and lunged at him from the darkness. He was already in position, completely ready. As the first specter dove at him, he didn't hesitate. He slashed straight at its head. The moment the blade struck, the rusted sword flared with golden light. The specter let out a piercing wail and dissolved into ash. "Knew it," he muttered. "No way they'd throw me into a trial without something to fight back with these bones. Must be hiding more gear." A grin crept on his face. He was fired up now, no longer guarding the temple passively. He charged forward, sword in hand, into the heart of the spectral swarm. As Ihi charged forward, the savage brute reappeared in the background. Arms crossed, he watched Ihi leave the temple with a scornful sneer. "These white ghosts are laced with my killing intent. And this little rookie thinks he can just walk out of the safe zone. What a joke. Another idiot. Each generation gets dumber. Guess I'll be cleaning up another corpse today." Meanwhile, he was having the time of his life, slashing through ghosts like weeds. Just then, another specter lunged at him, but its claws phased right through him, missing entirely. "What the?" The brute froze in shock. "Why can't my ghost touch him? What is this kid made of?" Turns out inside this spiritual trial, Ihei's monster template had automatically activated a guardian mode, rendering him untouchable. "Wait, does this mean I'm literally invincible right now?" He broke into a wicked grin. His laughter even started to sound a little unhinged. And so began the massacre. His sword skills were trash, but it didn't matter if he leapt, slashed, stabbed, and spun. Ghosts fell like chopped vegetables. The savage brute stared in disbelief. When did my trial become a joke? How is he unaffected by my martial resonance? "Simple," Ihei said smugly. "Hard work and constant practice." Of course, that punchable face didn't show the truth. He was just shamelessly cheating with a built-in hack. "Hard work, huh?" The brute chuckled darkly. "You've handled the ghost. I won't go back on my word, but whether you can handle this inheritance, well, that's a different story." As he finished speaking, thunder cracked across the sky. The wrath-faced guardian statue collapsed, revealing a dark, ancient well beneath it, a bottomless pit. Just one glance into its depth sent a chill down A's spine. Inside that well lies the purest essence of malice. I forged in life, the flesh-bound demon prison technique. Its true form is down there, dot. If you can absorb it. The brute didn't even finish his sentence. He had already jumped in. "Huh. Good. That's the kind of guts I like." He couldn't help but grin, truly impressed for the first time. In his prime, this man had been a legend, one of the few to conquer an S-rank secret realm. His rise and fall were both tied to one technique, flesh-bound demon prison. But as age weakened his body, the very malice and vengeful spirits he had sealed within began to claw back, twisting his mind, driving him mad until he started killing those closest to him to stop himself from falling further. He ended his own life, that in his final moments, he fused his lingering rage and spiritual imprint into the statue, creating a legacy only the worthy could claim. Even after 100 years, the malice here hasn't fully faded. For an ordinary martial novice, it's a death sentence. But if Ahir cursed that destroyed its creator, then on the path of flesh-bound demon prison, he'll surpass him. In the surveillance room, Qinlan walked over to Lu Qingzhu. Together, they silently watched Ihei, who is now deep inside the martial resonance realm. Suddenly, Qinggu gasped. "Mom, what's going on?" On screen, Ai's body was now surrounded by a strange, ominous aura. His limbs twitched violently, as if needles were piercing his flesh. Just moments ago, he'd been smiling in his sleep, like he was having the time of his life. Now, he was convulsing like he'd been electrocuted. Worse, tiny streams of blood had begun to seep from his pores. Qinwan, however, showed no panic. She calmly inhaled from her slim cigarette, then exhaled. "This third Chong technique, your grandfather stumbled upon it late in life. He tried to train in it, but even with his mastery, the resonance rejected him outright. It injured him severely. Moreover, if they are only thinking of taking this as a major because it may be less competitive, then he is personally expelling them after he has done talking. The class finally begins."